That's one of the things that I've always admired about Ryssa is that she understands what's being given to her, but then she gets it to a point where she can understand even better for herself. And that's been a big factor in what we've been doing here with Konversation, is that we're constantly giving the idea that the student is the more important person in the room,
Right.
not the instructor.
Not the instructor.
And that isn't always the case in a lot of other martial arts.
Do you have any other exposure to other martial arts other than the conventions that we take you to?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Really?
Yeah.
And of the experiences you've had with other martial arts, and it's very limited. It's a few minutes here with one instructor, a few minutes here with another instructor. What is your take on that way of teaching?
I mean, that's hard to say because I'm only getting a very, very
small window.
Very small window.
Right.
And it varies from teacher to teacher. So, I mean, I understand it in my own terms, and if they communicate it in a way that makes sense to me, that's good. But I mean, each student is different.
So is it a lot of hit and miss in the understanding portion
Yeah,
of it?
yeah, and within any system too, you're gonna have people that you vibe with and people that you don't, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, same thing with the belt, right? It's like you may train with 5 black belts, but you actually really vibe with one if it's your style. So that's the ownership that the student needs to take on, regardless of what system they're in.
Now, this, to touch on that, which one of us do you vibe with? We're all the same. Because we don't do any one same thing, right?
No,
So
we don't.
when we talk to you about what you do,
Like, have you ever heard a lesson
Yeah.
from him and from me sound the same?
No. Like what's more my style?
yeah, what's more your style of
Rick, Danny, Naeem.
yeah.
I
Marco?
think
She teaches him more.
Oh, no.
that's hard to say. I think I in terms of physical movement,
So much better.
I look to you the most.
Okay.
What? No, just kidding.
Because I
No,
always
I can
I-
see
The visual, the
No, I
visual.
see that.
Yeah,
no,
the visual.
I understand that. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I would definitely pick you too. So
Yeah.
there.
You are really good at, especially in the beginning, when my mind couldn't really comprehend martial arts in general. You knew how to change the frame of mind for me, which is, I think, so difficult for students, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part of the entirety of what we do.
Especially if they have a background in martial
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To break them away from the bad habits and the
Yeah.
things that they do, or even we had a couple of kids who were just, had learning disabilities.
arts. Oh, yeah.
To try to get over that, to try to get the information
Yeah.
across. So, well, thank you for that. Because
thank you.
that's something I strive for. That's an important thing for me.
Before we move on, though, what do you get from Danny?
Yeah.
A lot. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, like, the way he teaches is so straight to the point that,
Simple.
yeah, it's simple. And it's very, like, because he injects humor and I don't know, like all you guys know how to teach, so it's hard to say. But Uncle Danny is very creative in the way that he makes connections, as all of you guys.
Created the blade in mind himself.
Yeah.
He's very creative.
But I feel like he's able to draw on these like random experiences and then create lessons from it really, really quickly. Which I think is incredible.
Awesome.
And again, it goes back to just how you're seeing everything.
Right.
No matter who's teaching something, you're getting something logical about it.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I can connect with this and this because it's the way it's being given to you. And again, that's something that we strive for. Because if it gets too complicated for the student, what happens? They leave.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I can't figure this out.
Your brain checks out way before the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that that's how that is to you. Because it is something we work at. I feel that a lot of times you go, and I've been to a lot of different schools. In my Kempo school, when I was there, it was just follow the guy in front of you. And then they never came around. And I was there for several months, but they never broke down what I was doing or what the guy was doing. If the guy in front of me next to me was doing it wrong, I was doing it wrong. Because I'm just okay. I'm doing all this, and it's like, but then you never got corrected. And I noticed that people with the higher belts, they were not even getting corrected either. But as they went along, they were able to do it better, and they got better and stronger at it just from longevity,
Yeah.
and not that they really knew anything. You know, so that to me that was just crazy. Like I could say that.
Right.
You know, then I stopped somewhere else. Then when Danny came along, he says, "Rick, there's another way," and he said, "But I'm going to create it." And he hadn't done it yet. You know, because back then it was Pikiti, right?
Right.
That's the basis. And then, you know, he says, "Rick, there's a better way."
I don't know what it is
Fast
yet.
forward,
but
yeah. Fast forward 5 years later, he starts teaching, you know, the correction officer that
Right.
you're talking about, and then it evolved and it turned into something more. Then I was like, oh, this is what we should be teaching, and that evolution of Filipino martial arts, which we no longer even say that it's about the Filipino martial arts. It's any martial arts because of the mindset and the way we're teaching. It's not about the physical stuff. You know, like you said earlier, yeah, the thinking or the mental part was more important to you than the physical.
yeah, I know that wasn't even.
That
like,
blew me away with you. Like,
I
what?
think that was the most stern thing you said throughout this entire conversation.
Yeah.
Mental. I was like, oh, okay.
You know, it's like nothing else that even matters. But that, you know, and again, it goes back to, you know, to really show that what we're doing is sticking with the students.
Because it is for the student. So we're here for you more than anything else.
How
That's great.
about your future in this? What do you think you would like to do?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, because you know, me and Danny are old.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I'm open to teaching because it definitely helps improve my colleague and my understanding. But yeah, I'm just taking it lesson by lesson.
Naya?
You know, I like that you said that. Sweetheart, remember what we talked about?
Filming baby.
This is Naeem's daughter.
Yeah, this is Naya, the little one.
She's a little bored.
Yeah.
Are they making crafts and stuff?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, so we wanted to tell you something.
3, 2, 1.
And so I think that because of the way you're getting this information, really thought about where you would like to go in the next 5 years that you would like teaching like that. I think that's awesome because one of the things that we talk about in the 5th level of understanding is your colleagues and how you perceived everything that was given to you and how you would teach it from your understanding. Now, because you're almost there, the fact that you're saying this, I've given you a lot of opportunities to start teaching. I'd say, hey, show this thing to somebody. What is that one?
Like,
Give him a
When I
lesson.
say, oh, here, teach Nayin how to do, Sinawang.
oh, I get anxiety.
But why
I
is
get
that?
so nervous.
What?
Because it really tests you on what you know, and it can expose you so fast if you are a phony. So that's why sometimes when I'm not confident in teaching, I get kind of riled up trying to speak. But once I'm in it and I'm able to kind of get a feel for, okay, like this is all information I already know. It's different to intake it and then have to like speak it. And if you
But the
haven't done
crazy
that
thing is
before,
you do the Rick prevention class. You teach that class.
Yeah.
because I
With confidence.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. I
Because
really
I
don't
sneak
know.
that on you every once in a while. I say, hey, Ryssa, go teach this to this person or that person. And she's like, and then after a while, I'll come back and you're doing a perfect job.
And don't worry. It happens to me too.
Yeah.
He used to be that we started class together, and he'd say, "All right, today you're gonna teach me something. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
your brain is just running through every single scenario, and you're like, "Oh, what excuse can I make up for not coming up with anything right now?"
Yeah.
So now that you bring that up, teach me something.
Okay.
Cool.
We're working
Oh,
with
here we go.
this with Dan.
And you can beat up Naeem because
Oh wait, hold on.
No.
Okay, fine.
Naeem will be your punching bag.
Fine. I will.
Yeah, let's move this out of the
No,
way.
it's just more. We can sit down.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
okay.
All right. Very,
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah. So I know that one of Uncle Danny's thing, other than the doorknob, is that he does this.
No.
So when we were playing with knives earlier, I didn't realize that the small difference of palm up and palm down will determine the way you strike and from what angle you do. So I think that was pretty cool.
Okay.
In that, depending on palm up or palm down, are you thrusting or are you slashing? And so, yeah, I don't know.
Off this little idea.
Yeah, off of this. And that can get translated into different, weapons. It can be open hand.
Okay.
It can be with sticks. But I just thought it was really cool because I don't get much action with knives. And it's a different way that you interact with because it's a lot. It's shorter range and also you don't need that much power too. So
What do you mean by shorter range?
close range.
But what does that do?
Because it's in a tighter.
How close do you have to be for this to touch me?
Yeah, because we're in a tighter space. Things are moving a lot quicker, so I don't need this big, wide motion in order to cut you. So understanding this and how quick this can be is really
More
important.
than enough.
Yeah.
So I come at you.
Yeah. So my palm is up, right?
I love
And then
where
if
she
my
went
palm
with
is
that.
down.
Oh, that was crazy that she just did.
Yeah. So that's something I just never really thought about, which I thought was pretty cool.
Wow.
So, in that teaching of what you just said, right? And I will tell you, I know that lesson.
Yeah.
And the way you gave it, and I suspect you just learned that today.
Yeah. So it's super fresh.
Right?
No anxiety.
But
Yeah.
even with that, you had all the right information.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to this stuff sticking to your head and staying there. Because a lot of people, when you first learn something, somebody tells you to show me, you forget.
Yeah.
Right?
I
You
think it
remember
was-
those days?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember those days.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now show me. You're like, what did you tell me to do?
Yeah.
But here it is. You just, because I know we just got here. Right before we did this,
Yeah.
you were already sitting down, which means the class was over. So it might have been 30 minutes or so before you.
Like an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what makes it stick too is when I associate it being easy and also cool. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Just do this.
Yeah, just doing
I
this.
never want you to beat me up. You're gonna think, oh, it's cool. Come here. I'm like, hey.
I like the sound of his shoulder popping.
Yeah. That's funny.
But and I have to point out that, like Rick said, all the information it was proper and it was the right information, but it was given like Ryssa would give it.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard Danny say it that way,
No.
Yeah.
and I know
And
that-
I wouldn't teach it that way.
and he wouldn't teach it that way.
But the fact that you got all the information out, that I understood what you were saying, and I could see it, and you actually,
And then demonstrate.
and off the cuff,
Right.
yeah, you didn't know I was going to tell you to do this, because it just, and here it is. Oh, I have something. You're like, holy shit. But again, this happens with all the students all the time. Though they're able to just say, okay, let me do this.
Yeah.
And again, I would like to think that it's because all of this stuff sticks to the head so well, because of the way it's given, the simplicity that we do it in, that you're right. It does stay longer. It does stick in fat, and all those things that you were mentioning earlier. That is really what happens because you're now living proof of what you just talked about earlier.
Oh
and here it
my
is. You
God!
just-
Yeah, stuff that we weren't even aware of, but blown away. No, seriously, we're blown away
Yeah.
by the fact that you go through these things, and that's your training. You turn this into your art. This is how you do things.
And she's done that with the rape prevention. She's made it her own. She understands what needs to be said.
Right.
What are the things that are important, and you deliver every time. And I always get people coming. Oh man, I'd like her to come and da da da. And oh, we want to. It's like, all right, and then all the COVID hit and no classes.
Yeah, because I've been trying to set some up for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys have a Filipino group? Yeah, I know this girl. She teaches rape prevention. Oh, here's my card.
Yeah, it's amazing just watching you. You knew we were going to come here today, But like always, we never tell the guests what we're going to talk about or
No, so-
what is the topic of discussion.
Right.
Nayin and I just kind of ramble.
Yeah.
We do.
And you have to be on the spot on what you're going to say. Here it is, she's just throwing stuff out at us.
But
no
she's
hesitation.
mindful. She's
Very, very
mindful
mindful,
about what
yeah.
she says, though. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna say, wait, no, let me take that back.
No,
you actually
she
thought
actually
things
goes
through,
into it.
and beautiful.
So, what I'm going to say is then that when we start class again, we're teaching a couple of classes.
No!
Well, just because you've proven to me that you could.
You seriously did, and it's
know,
kind of
this
no,
is where you're at
No
now.
good deed goes unpunished.
That's right. You are now instructor.
Ooh, should we pass that by Danny first?
Nope. We never do.
No, she did.
But no, I thought it was refreshing what you brought up. The fact that you're like, oh, I have something to show you. And you didn't miss anything, Had you had more time, I'm sure you would have come up with more things to talk about. But here it is, you gave us nice, concise, small things. Say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And based on what you did, I understood. I get what you're trying to say with that.
And visually, people saw how it could be translated further.
Yeah, that was really impressive. I think moving forward, you really do need to get a student or two. I mean, and I've done this with Naeem. I'm constantly saying, hey, you need a student because what happens when you start teaching?
Yeah.
Well,
What
you
happens?
said it. What happens when you start teaching?
It exposes you.
But not only that, but you get better,
Yeah.
right? You force yourself to get better because you're like,
Oh yeah, I'm not doing it.
yeah, I'm not doing the
Yeah.
angle right. I'm not, showing the things that I'm trying to get them to do properly. But you get better. You become better when you teach. And that's why I always encourage everybody, oh, here, teach this. Even though I know you're not ready for it, I say, hey, show them how to do it. And you're like, she gives this dirty look like, oh, damn it, okay, come here. But she's very quiet and reserved when she does. So when she gets instructions, she's like, okay, and goes, all right, so I'm like, what?
What was that?
Yeah.
Talking about the angle?
we
Oh.
always have to talk louder. We so what?
But what I love is that when it clicks, you see this big old smile that she can't help. She has this
Oh,
smile
yeah,
that
yeah,
she
yeah.
can't hide.
Joy
She tries, but it just keeps coming out, and she's just so happy with what she's doing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch.
It's fun to watch you grow. Yeah.
And what was even better is that to watch you grow from what you were before when you first started to where you're at now. I mean, you're a totally different person.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, and you said that yourself, like you walk around head high, and that's impressive. Let's just say 4 years, but what a change. What a transformation from where you were to where you're at now. And I can only see that getting better
Oh, yeah.
as you grow.
Just imagine 5 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that I'm hoping to see from these videos is that we get the attention that people, kind of come looking for us and say, hey, how do I get to be like Ryssa? How do I get to be like Naeem?
Don't be like Naeem, be like Ryssa.
No.
No one can be like Rick. He's an anomaly in
Yeah,
itself.
I'm an old man. I'm too banged up to be anybody's. I think that the next student that we come in contact, whoever that new person is, I'm handing them over to you officially. Just so.
I'll teach the talk.
There you go.
Yeah,
And then
that's
that's it.
first place to start. Is teach the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've always thought about is when all is said and done, me and Danny are, doing our own thing or other stuff, the age and whatnot.
Oh, I was gonna say
Yeah.
grave.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going with?
No, I'm not going to die for a long time.
Okay.
At least I hope not. But I would love to see, Ryssa's martial arts thing, played, Ryssa's
Bladed
Bladed
Mind,
Mind
yeah.
or Naeem's Bladed Mind. Just because I think that's what we instill in you. To get to a point where you can teach it. Get to be with your own ideas, not what we gave you, and how you perceive those ideas, and our lessons to you guys. Because you guys are starting to do that now. I mean, even in this simple thing that you just did, that was all about how you saw it. That had nothing to do because,
How it was given to you? No.
yeah, Danny doesn't talk the way you talk.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That would have been, I could hear Danny sitting in that class and totally different.
That's why it didn't sound anything.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and even to take a step further about the idea of everyone taking their own their own perspective on things. For me, the idea of teaching is more of a selfish one because if I want to continue growing, I have to teach.
Oh yes.
For me, it's a matter of that's my step 4 to get to my 5. I need to teach this in order for me to grow and become better. Because I do want to keep growing. I do want to get better, and I have to teach it. And Ryssa, she's a bit more noble. I feel like she just wants to give the information away.
I think so too. But that's a cool trait.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't have a problem because I do this. You know, me
Right.
and Danny do the same thing. You know, for as much as we were told we could teach, you know, and
In charge, yeah.
we're not really stuck up on
You guys
that.
are terrible about that money part.
I think it's because, like you want to give it back. You know, pay it forward and say, here's what I have. I hope it helps you. Go forth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think, you know, not trying to be noble or anything like that.
No, it's just
I just think it's cool.
yeah.
You know, if I can get something to help somebody along the way, why not?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful.
If I can get lunch out of it, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Settle with that.
And I'm good with that. I think you have the potential, just like Naina has shown, to become, you know, somebody here in the martial arts circle. You already are. I mean, people do bring up your
Whether you
name.
admit it or not.
Yeah. And maybe you don't hear it from what we hear, but we hear it. You know, whenever our good friend Dennis says something, you're always in there somewhere. You know, your name pops up every now and again. Even I spoke with Nicholas
Yeah.
a little while back. And you know, all of these things that people remember. So,
Made an impression.
yeah, that's. I always think that's cool. Anytime anybody can remember who you are, it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
you know, I must have did something right to get there. I mean, unless they're bad enough. Maybe I get that, but
I'm sure I get that.
oh yeah, they hate you because you're the level that you are in the short time that you got there is pissing off a lot of people.
Is it?
Sure, it does. A little bit of sour grapes, I think.
I guess.
You know, I mean, when Ryssa, I know it's mixing you down. When Ryssa came out, her first year, and this is the Sacramento,
Right.
the Sacramento tournament, and you and Ann, fellow student, took first and second.
Oh, that was a great battle.
Yeah, and people were already looking at you guys. You know, they're like, ooh, you know, great match, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then the year later, we started noticing people trying to fight like us.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So what did that say? You know, you know, you emulate your heroes, and that's what we saw. And I was like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it the very next year, you know, and I'm not even saying that just to be boastful, but it was something that actually did happen. And that was a surprise.
And that's awesome because we've brought up the concept in other conversations about how you're influenced by things that you see, regardless of whether you take it in or not.
Yeah.
But like Ryssa was saying earlier, her way of learning, you're influenced far more by the things you think are cool,
Yeah.
by the things you like. And obviously people saw you move a certain way, they're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
I
they
want to be
were
like that.
definitely influenced to the point where they started moving that way too.
Yeah, and that was cool.
So that says a lot about the learning process, and what we talk about in the college conversation is how do we take in information. And I think you explained it in one of the simplest ways, even simpler than you and I have been able to explain in these videos. Oh, ABCs, oh that's cool, oh I'm going to do it this way. And here you are, 3 years later, 4 years later.
Yeah, the fact that you can make the impressions that you have says a lot about you. And in this short time. Yeah, that's great. I mean, we haven't even been around for the last 3 months because of this COVID thing.
Right.
But again, I'm still getting, you know, your name still pops up in organizations. That's pretty cool.
Very good.
And I know if we didn't have the COVID thing, I think Dennis wanted you to do a couple of things, you know, in some of
Oh,
his
that's
stuff.
right. We were trying to
Yeah,
set things
remember?
up
Oh,
in the
like
studio.
great.
Yeah. Some classes for him.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that'd be cool.
Because he's definitely the go-to guy when networking.
Yeah. We're going to actually see Dennis visit us next Thursday.
Oh,
He's going to be doing a public conversation with us, and I can't wait to hear what he has.
yes. So,
I think,
time?
wow, we're already at an hour plus. So,
okay.
we'll play with this.
This is a good time.
Yeah, this is our time. Again, this is a colleague conversation with me, Rick,
Me Nain.
and our special guest.
Ryssa.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys for
We'll
joining us.
see you soon.
Oh, that was awesome.
And 3, 2, 1.
That was